Hello and welcome to Radio Free USA. This is your host, Tarek here. I'm hosting this week because my fellow podcaster, Rahul, is feeling a bit under the weather. His voice is just is not what it once was. A bit like Trump's first 100 days. But we'll move on to that. So I'm here with Rahul.
Hey, how's it going, Tarek?
And we got Tim here as well, calling in from the Northeast.
Hey, good to be here.
There you go. Well, guys, what an exciting week we had here. Trump finally completed his first 100-day cycle, which we all know is a bit of an arbitrary, completely made up, bogus benchmark, right?
Yeah, it's fake news, total fake news. The complete lack of achievement from this administration is just a media concept.
I agree. It's totally made up. Absolutely fake news.
Yeah, I mean the thing about Trump's first 100 days, guys, is that it was a bit uneventful. It was there wasn't a lot of substantive things that happened there, right? It was like the guy who promises to put on a big show and he finally brings the girl home and he's got whiskey dick. So that's in a nutshell. That's exactly.
I think whiskey dick is a good term.
That's exactly what it. It's exactly what that's how I feel that this first 100 days went. And now I think the most interesting part for me is that Trump wants us to feel sorry for him, as if he's somehow the victim here and that it's not his fault that his first 100 days were an absolute train wreck. I got a quote for you here that was came out of the recent interview he did with Reuters. It says, "I love my previous life. I had so many things going on. This is more work than I thought. In my previous life, I thought it would be easier." What are your thoughts on that, guys?
Yeah, this is just typical Trump here. His expectations of what the presidency were going to be were clearly totally unrealistic, and he had no idea what he was getting himself into.
Yeah, and man, those of us on the left have been saying this forever, that this guy is not only a fucking racist, but a racist and a bigot and a fucking nincompoop, but also just doesn't know what the fuck he's doing in his job. Like what he's been doing in real estate for 30 years. It's been an incompetently run private company, and it's translating to an incompetently run public the public government.
Yeah, I think probably the big loser here is Vladimir Putin, who supported someone like Trump and thought that in the first 100 days there would be some significant changes in U.S.-Russian relations, and that just hasn't happened either. I think one thing for me that stood out as well here from a recent interview this week around Trump's first 100 days was Trump was being pestered by a reporter when he was at an event around, I think it was the most recent tax cuts that he's proposing. And the reporter was asking him, Mr. Trump, do you plan on preemptively attacking North Korea? And he sort of flippantly responded, "You'll soon find out, won't you?" And he actually repeated that twice, which is, for me, just so absurd and ridiculously dangerous on so many levels. And in many ways is a brilliant metaphor for Trump's first 100 days, just an unhinged, erratic soup of absurdities that have delivered nothing but pain for real Americans, and it's a real danger to the world.
Yeah, I agree, Tarek. That point is just kind of hammered home by his interview with the Associated Press, where there were just quote after quote of ridiculous statement by Trump about what he was expecting coming into the office. For example, so the reporter asks him, "How do you feel the office has changed you?" And he says, "Well, the one thing I would like to say, I say this to people, you never really know how big it was. Everything's so unintelligible. Like, the orders are so massive. And he goes on to say, it's massive. And every agency is like bigger than any company. So, I really just see the bigness of it all.
It was bigly. The federal government is bigly, right? It's too big for Trump to handle.
He did not expect the type of bigness that he's
the most bigly of all. Yeah.
The AP interview, which also, Tim, I know we were talking about this earlier. We learned who Trump has the most incredible chemistry with among all the world leaders he's met so far. Who is that again? Can you remind us who Trump has a brilliant relationship with?
Angela Merkel, surprisingly. Angela. How do you say that? Angela Merkel. Angela Merkel.
M-Dog. As we call her colloquially.
Yeah. Well, this is clearly him just trying to cover up the embarrassing public interaction he had with her, where he refused to shake her hand when everybody in the room was asking him to do so. And so to try to correct that and make everybody forget about it, he says he has one of the best chemistries with Angela Merkel, and he says, I guess somebody shouted out, shake her hand, but I never heard it. I had already shaken her hand 4 times. So he claims he never heard it.
He claims he never heard it, and we all know what happened here, guys. His tiny, puny little baby hands were sore from shaking Angela's hands 4 times, but he couldn't take it anymore. He would have leapt out with a massive cry had he shaken her hand so publicly.
And we all know how acidic the globalist hand is. So, 1 or 2 handshakes is more than enough.
Yeah, and he may have, who knows, he may have shaken her hand with the invisible hand of the free market, but we'll never really know. But
Adam Smith will know.
Adam Smith will know. So anyway, guys, it's been a train wreck. It's been a horrible first 100 days, and we're only in for probably more tears to come. I want to move on to a really important topic, and we had some really lively debates on this topic ourselves, guys, as you know, and I think it's important for the listeners to really understand where we stand on this. Mainly the topic of the liberal democratic infighting that's going on right now, and it may not seem palpable. It may not be on the front pages of all the newspapers, but every now and then there's a story that pops up around infighting. It mostly comes down to ex-Bernie and ex-Hillary people sort of battling it out for the soul of the Democratic Party. And this tends to happen, right, when you get absolutely pulverized in a series of off-year elections. And we're sitting here staring down the barrel of a Republican-controlled House, Senate, and White House. So, guys, what are your thoughts on this general Bernie, Hillary sort of camps and the media narrative that's been created there, and how you think we can rise above?
So I object to the relitigation of the primary. We on the left, I'm a little bit more centrist left, and I think you guys are more Bernie left, but I don't like these categorizations of, dissecting and then fighting amongst one another to say who's the most progressive or something, and then having a fight over that then ends up with the monsters on the right end up winning at the end of the game because we keep nitpicking over one another. So there was one topic this week, or in the last couple of weeks, that I think flared up that I feel like should be clarified, which is, so Bernie Sanders was out there campaigning for Jon Ossoff, the Democrat who is campaigning in the special election for Tom Price's seat in Georgia, and performed quite well compared to expectations, compared to how Tom Price performed in 2016. However, there was this typical infighting on the left where Jon Ossoff apparently is not pro-choice or has kind of a pro-life, quote-unquote, position, and Bernie endorsed him. However, there was some battling within the liberal media circles that, like, is that cool or is it not? My attitude is, let's build a party in a broad sense. Let's get as many people with a D on their name as possible. I don't care if, dude, Jon Ossoff is 30 years old. He's a young guy in Georgia in a district that Tom Price won by 30 points or 20 some points. So if we can get a Democrat, regardless if he ends up being a centrist Democrat, whatever, let's just get more D's. let's get more D's on the list.
D's
but some of the and I think some of the Bernie wing might disagree with that, and a lot of liberals would. So
in this case, you're saying Bernie actually supported Ossoff in his anti-choice.
Yeah,
stance.
yeah. So actually, I need to be a little more well read on this, but he was kind of campaigning on behalf of Ossoff, but like half-heartedly or something.
But let's focus on this. So like Bernie didn't. I don't think anyone's accusing Bernie of endorsing like anti-choice views. I think the false narrative here is that when you're voting for a candidate, you're endorsing every single thing that they believe in, and it's no candidate is perfect. So look, the fact that Ossoff may be let's say anti-choice is less important in the grand scheme of things, because he would be one more vote that we have in the House and the Senate that is not
any more D's.
Exactly, and it's certainly not going to overwhelm anything. I mean, the whole, like, while on the one hand, as Democrats, we campaign on choice, even Republicans, mainstream Republicans, say that it's the law. Roe v. Wade is the law of the land. It's only like right-wing lunatics like Trump, who's trying to appeal to the base, or Pence, who's an absolute nightmare, who try to relitigate Roe v. Wade. So let's get over this, guys, and stop fighting with one another. Not you two, but Democrats more broadly. Let's get over it. Let's be adults here. And if you really think that we would want to gift wrap a seat that we could easily flip to the Republicans just because the guy who's running there is not pro-choice, then okay, then we've got bigger problems on our hands.
Yeah, I actually agree with that too. To be honest, I guess the pro-Bernie people are supposed to be up in arms about this, and I did see some Democrats on Twitter saying things like, "There's no place for this viewpoint in our party," that type of thing. But abortion's a weird issue because I think Louis C.K. put it best in his latest stand-up show, which I just watched on Netflix the other day, where he said, with abortion, you either think it's baby murder, or you think it's like taking a shit, and there's no in between.
Yeah,
I totally agree. I think that is the.
The point is, if somebody else thinks it's baby murder, like Jon Ossoff in this case, like, who are we to like get mad at him? Because he legitimately thinks that babies are being murdered. I
agree, and let him think that. Who cares? It's not going to change the law. The Roe v. Wade is the only people who benefit from an internal fight within the Democratic Party around the issue of choice are Republicans. You know what I mean? But I think the more acutely as well. I have a brief because I think we want to talk as well around the more general Bernie Hillary infighting. And this weekend, I attended a board event for a local Democratic organization that I'm a part of, and the subject came up where Bernie's coming to speak, right? And it's sold out in a matter of seconds, and there's a very real push within the committee to have an event around this, even though many people can't go. And there was a thread that went through, and there was a lot of visceral reaction to the thread that, quite frankly, took me aback. So Bernie's a traitor. He's not a Democrat. We can't be out there being seen to endorse Bernie. And someone even said that Bernie's the reason why Hillary lost the election, which I immediately responded, Hillary actually won the election, first of all. And second, like let's be serious here, guys. Like, Bernie is not the reason why Hillary lost the election. So I think more generally, I want to get your views on how do we rise above this? How do you think that Bernie? Two questions. Do you think that Bernie needs to become a Democrat for us to rise above this, or not? And then the second question is, do you think that the hardcore Hillary people who are still really pissed at Bernie are ever going to get over this and join the party with everyone else?
Well, so I'll say Bernie does not have to be become formally a Democrat. I think the coalition of the DSA, the Democratic Socialists, and the Democrats can work together and form a coalition that the majority of America really does believe in. But at the same time, dude, like, as someone who's a little closer to the center, the far left, the left does complain a lot about, like, as much as Obama was stifled in his presidency, like that's as good of a gambit as we have. Is like, let's have an awesome president. I don't know. I think there's a lot of nitpicking, I think, from the left too, where y'all should have just showed up and voted for Hillary Clinton. All right, and we people in Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, like, the problem isn't that Hillary Clinton wasn't cool enough or whatever. It's that people on the right showed up, and then motherfuckers were voting for Jill Stein and shit like that. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, no, I don't want us to get off topic here, just because then we are relitigating that. Like, unless your point there, Rahul, is that the Hillary people have the right to be pissed off and throw their toys out of the pram and, like, don't want to come and play with everybody else right now, which I don't think is the point that you're trying to make. Because I also disagree that the reason why Hillary lost any state is because of Bernie. In the Stein vote is you don't want to miss the forest for the trees, because there were a lot of Democrats who voted for Trump. Those are the people we should be upset about if you're really upset about something, not the Bernie people or anyone else who voted for Stein, because those are the people. But those are the people who are the reason why Trump won, right? I mean, like, would you have been happy with Hillary barely winning Wisconsin? And
winning the presidency?
We wouldn't have won with Wisconsin. We lost Pennsylvania too.
No, but there was the turnout. It was such a negative turnout in 2016 versus 2012, and a lot of that is on the personality. Like, Obama's just so much cooler than Hillary Clinton, but the center left message isn't wrong for America. It's way better than the fucking Trump nonsense.
And also, let me just jump in and point out that Nate Silver in 538 said recently that the letter released by Comey resulted in enough of a bump for Hillary to lose the election. So we don't need to really, like, be critical of really anybody right now, except for maybe James Comey.
And that's how I feel about, like, for the left to do an autopsy report and then say that those of us that are closer to the center are idiots and the entire establishment is wrong. No, we were close. We're so close to a victory. But at the same time, obviously, there's a messaging problem, a serious messaging problem.
I think like a good analogy is like you're the Cleveland Cavaliers, you're in the finals, it's game 7, and LeBron James gets injured like in the first quarter. You know, your star goes down and there's nothing you can do about it. That's what happened to Hillary pretty much. She was about to cross the finish line and she was injured by this letter being released, you know, and then she's a crippled candidate.
No, not to sell the kind of the left's message short. Hillary should have been ahead by more. Like the lead, if we're doing a basketball analogy, like Hillary was only up by like 4 or 5 points, really by the end of the fourth quarter, and then this Comey incident happens. But she should have been up by 20. She should have been fucking 30 points. And the fact that that it wasn't up by enough should be that's the indication that I see as someone who's a little more center left than you guys are, perhaps. That the message needs to move left because the policies are popular, but just the people outside of Obama are not.
I think first of all, the challenge that we have here, I think, is giving into the narrative. Rahul, I think your point runs the risk of giving into the false media narrative that there is a real issue within the Democratic Party and that we need to confront that and continue to air our differences. I don't think that there's an existential crisis within the Democratic Party. And I don't think that Hillary was actually even center left at all. I think actually, if you're going by the Republicans in Congress, Hillary is, even though we would consider her a centrist, is pretty far to the left if you're looking at a binary spectrum like that, you know, like a linear spectrum. So I just want to stress the fact that Democrats need to unite, and I don't think it's just a messaging issue, Rahul. I still think there is an existential question that we need to ask ourselves. It's not a crisis, but what do we really believe in as a party? And I don't think that we're going to be able to answer that today on the podcast. But we're not. We used to be the party of the working class and of the middle class, and it was all about economics, right? And then we veered away from that, and the American people are looking at it saying, look, actually, I'm making less than I used to, you know, when you account for changes in the currency and inflation than I made 30 years ago, right? And then they're looking and they're saying nothing the Democrats are talking about is addressing that.
Right. And I think Bernie really hit the nail on the head with his campaign, which was really laser focused on the issue of money in politics and the paid speaking engagements, the amount of money that corporations pump into lobbyists, and so he hammered Hillary with that point, and then Trump was able to benefit from that to some extent because he wasn't taking as much outside money, or at least at the beginning he wasn't, and then when he started taking outside money, of course he kept it quiet, right?
He was taking outside money from Russia the whole time too.
Right, yeah. Of course. But this brings me to another interesting news point that came up this week, which was Obama's $400,000 paid speaking engagement at it was like a healthcare conference or something, but I guess it was paid for by some bank. And of course, a lot of people on the left were upset about this, especially in the Bernie camp. Both Bernie and Elizabeth Warren kind of mentioned that they were disappointed, basically. So, what do you guys think about that?
Look, I might be a corporatist center left fucking douchebag or something. But I think it's disappointing to see the left react in a way towards Barack Obama. He's a private citizen. If he wants to, he has book deals that are like $60 million in value. If he wants to speak to whoever, whatever, like it's a healthcare conference. If you put yourself in the position of like, I'm gonna go attend a healthcare conference, and former President Barack Obama is gonna talk, it sounds like he's going to present a pro Obamacare position. So anyways, so my objection with people being pissed off is just like, dude, let the guy not only let the guy make his money, but also he's advocating the position we want. Like in an audience of professionals and executives and stuff like that, he's there saying we should cover more people. He's probably doing more to advocate single payer than fucking Bernie Sanders is saying I won't speak to anyone unless they're pro single payer. Like, you have to move the ball. You need to get first downs before you can get a touchdown.
I agree. Although I don't think this is the.
Sorry, that was a little hot take there.
No, that's not like I don't think this is a first down. Like just to go with that analogy. Like I agree that, look, Obama wants to get out there and get a positive message out around healthcare at a time when it's under an incredible onslaught from the right, and they want to absolutely repeal and replace Obamacare with zombie Trump care, which we'll get to in a couple of minutes' time. But I agree with Warren and Bernie that it's bad optics. I get that it's bad optics, but we need to quickly pivot away from saying, look, this is the way that ex-presidents make money. George Bush makes money on speaking fees. Hillary Clinton made money on speaking fees. Bill Clinton made money on speaking fees. This is how he makes money. Like, is the issue that it's coming at a conference that has a lot of Wall Street people? Yeah, that's why people are upset. I think it's valid that some people on the left are voicing their concerns. I don't think it means that he's a sellout, because I don't think it means he's a sellout, but I agree it's bad optics, and he needs to get ahead of the message.
No, but I feel I'm in alignment with Trevor Noah, who said, like, you can't expect the first black president to also be the first president to not sell out. Like, what standards are we holding Obama to? Like,
well, the only reason he would not take this money is for his reputation, pretty much, right? And the reason the reason he might be the first to not take this money is because speaking fees were a bigger issue in the last presidential election than they ever have been. So it's more villainous to do that today than it ever has been in history, probably, because Hillary Clinton may well have lost the election because of that. I mean, we were saying that the Comey letter is more relevant, but it's
compared to Donald Trump.
I mean, obviously Donald Trump is a terrible candidate. Like, that's always, like, you can make that argument against any criticism that I make about Hillary, right? But I don't know. My personal opinion on the Obama money is, it's his choice. Like, if he is okay with people thinking that he's owned by the banks, then he can take the money. But if he wants to look like a pure-hearted, ultra non-corrupt politician like Bernie, then he shouldn't take the money. It's just his choice.
I think
he spent 8 years as president. And in every public statement was he was never pro Wall Street, was always like pro reform. I don't know what the bag is that the left has with.
I think this is another example of people on the left projecting things onto Barack Obama that he never really said or embodied at any point in time. And what I mean by this is, at the time of the 2008 election, Obama actually was, while he seemed radical at the time, he still was center left, and like I don't think that he campaigned disingenuously. I think what he was talking about were things that we label center left, like climate change, believing that it is real, and things like that. Which and then all of a sudden, when he got into office and he was this cool cat, smooth operator, no drama Obama, and he was a centrist, the left were kind of complaining, like, what the hell, Obama? This is not what we voted for, right? At the same time, Obama never said, he was never the anti-Wall Street firebrand that Elizabeth Warren is. And I love Elizabeth Warren. And that's one of the things that I love about her, is that she's not afraid to go after the most powerful people in this country. Obama was never like Obama never used the same kind of rhetoric. So I don't think that the point is valid that Obama is somehow a sellout for doing this. I mean, you could make the argument that actually he's just like kind of robbing these rich Wall Street fat cats of $400K for like a 20-minute speaking engagement, right? It would be another way to. And then if he turns around and donates that to his foundation, then even better. But you can't deny, Rahul, that it's bad optics. Like, is it valid? That's a different thing. It's bad optics.
But it's bad optics to the left. So
I think the right.
No, it's bad optics.
All around.
Everybody. I mean, that argument, definitely plays well with conservatives and undecideds too. I would think.
I think you're right. It's bad optics all around. But the main point is that Obama needs to get ahead of this, and people who support Obama, like us, need to be out there saying, "Look, this is bad optics. He's not a slave to Wall Street. He's doing a speaking engagement. This is how ex-presidents make their money." And guess what? Get over it. He's trying to talk about healthcare to any audience. I want to move on, guys, to, speaking of healthcare, zombie Trump care, aka the GOP Obamacare replacement bill, the thing that Trump promised to get done in his first 100 days in office, that crashed and burned like everything else in his life. And what do you think, guys? There are a couple stories out there from the New York Times and The Hill that covered this, but what's your take on zombie Trump care? You think they're going to get this across the line?
I think the only thing you need to know about zombie Trump care is the fact that the House, the members of the House in the GOP, put in a clause saying that they were exempt from the plan themselves. That's how bad the plan is. They were
hedging their bets.
Exactly. So basically, what zombie Trump care is, as I understand it, or the main difference is that the states no longer have to give you health care coverage if you have a pre-existing condition, and that's the part that the members of Congress want to be exempt from, and they've included that exemption in the bill itself.
So they effectively made Trump care worse. They made
it worse. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they made it worse, guys. They made it worse.
Exactly. That's why it's called zombie Trump care.
and do you think that this has any chance of passing the Senate? I mean, in terms of what we mean by saying they made it worse, they made it more conservative. They made it more batshit crazy, which in theory should make it easier to pass the House and harder to pass the Senate. But what do you guys think about this?
So what it's looking like, so I think it's possible that it could pass. I'm not totally sure, because we haven't seen like the reactions from everybody yet, because I think it just came out this week. But I guess the Freedom Caucus really pulls a lot of weight in the House, and if they can unite behind something, I guess the rest of the House GOP members are flexible enough that Trump will be able to bend their arms and get them to go along, as I understand.
And they really, and Rahul, you made this point last time around the tax cuts in this bill, and one of the major motivations as to why the Republicans want to pass it, right?
Yeah, so my understanding is, I I'll need to double check this, but like, you can only use reconciliation as a senatorial, like, kind of parliamentary movement one time per year, and they might use it on either tax cuts or healthcare, and then for tax cuts to pass, it needs to be deficit neutral. So as a result, they need to wait to see whether healthcare passes first. So,
Yeah,
um, so that's the sequence of events. We're basically like Republicans need to, if you're from the Republican perspective, you need to pass healthcare first, get all those savings from, you know, retrieving money from paying for poor people's health care, like just being an asshole, starving people of health care, and then use that to finance
massive tax
for
cuts.
the resty, for
Yeah.
the wealthy.
Yeah, for their besties there, the wealthiest 1%. So no, yeah,
Yeah.
you're exactly right. So that's the other motivation behind passing this, which is you got to scratch your head a little bit, guys, because if they wanted to really pass this bill, why would they make it harder to pass in the Senate by making it more conservative? But I digress. There was another great
because they're fucking idiots. Like it's so myopic and short sighted. Like, even if they can pass this bill from the House, it's going to fail in the Senate. It's going to fail.
They just want to blame Democrats.
There are some.
The Senate is way more moderate.
Sorry.
Yeah, but the Senate is way more moderate than the House is. So, like, I mean, this bill is doomed to fail.
What about Rand Paul, though? He might like it.
Rand Paul, yeah, exactly. As long as his hair gel is covered by Trump Care 2.0, because
I think Rand Paul secretly runs the entire Senate. Like it's just whatever he decides.
I think he left a libertarian tip this week as well. So, guys, there was another great moment this week. Tim, do you want to talk about the impending trade war with Canada?
Yes. So Trump initiated a trade war with Canada this week. He started imposing a tariff on soft lumber.
Soft lumber? That sounds like something that happened on Trump's wedding night. With
that happens to every guy.
Yeah, we've all had soft lumber before, but So Sean Spicer brought out. Oh shoot! I can't remember the guy's name now. The Secretary of
Commerce.
Wilbur
Oh yeah,
Ross. Is that his name?
Wilbur Ross. Yeah, the billionaire.
Ross. Yeah.
He was like the most banker-looking guy I've ever seen. But actually, I would say he's the smartest sounding member of the Trump cabinet I've seen so far. He was. He was like really old and like. He looked like he was talking in slow
Super
motion.
white.
Like, he was like, yeah, he looked like he was falling asleep while talking. But he seemed to know a lot about economics. But he also, it also was just strange that they trotted him out. Like it just seemed like Sean Spicer didn't want to have to deal with the questions, so he was like, "All right, Wilbur Ross, why don't you come out and explain this soft lumber tariff, and then let the reporters tear you up instead of me."
Yeah, exactly. And I think also just even given the role of Secretary of Commerce, that's where a lot of the trade envoys and those types of non-official positions all fall under that administration. So that's probably why he was involved as well. But at the same time, Trump is starting this or hinting at a potential trade war with Canada at the same time when he said he would have already repealed NAFTA or backed away from NAFTA or to some degree renegotiated NAFTA within his first 100 days, which just absolutely did not happen. I think the closest they got was getting Trudeau in a room with Ivanka Trump, and there was no soft lumber there. But oh wait, that's foreshadowing our clown of the week.
Some hard lumber, yeah.
That's probably foreshadowing our clown of the week this week. So I'll save that one for later.
Yeah, you're on point though with the NAFTA with bringing up the NAFTA thing, because so Trump basically was threatening to blow up NAFTA, right? And then this week, and then like the soft lumber tariff was like added more fuel to that fire, and I think was probably kind of like a bargaining chip to try to like scare Canada and Mexico, with the possibility that he would blow up NAFTA. And then sometime in the middle of the week, he was like, okay, it's cool, guys. We're keeping NAFTA. Canada called me. Mexico called me, and they begged me to keep NAFTA, so we're keeping NAFTA. Thanks to me, we're keeping NAFTA.
Exactly.
Everyone's just like, what?
Wow, who knew?
He somehow made NAFTA better in his first 100 days without doing anything.
Without changing anything and imposing a soft lumber tariff.
That's exactly right. So Trump is like he's like the Febreze of presidential administrations. He doesn't actually like do anything. It's all just maybe it smells better, but I digress. I want to move on, guys, to the White House Correspondents' Dinner last night, because that was a tremendous affair. Obviously, the big headline was that Trump skipped the White House Correspondents' Dinner because he's got those puny little baby hands and really thin skin, and he probably couldn't fully grasp a microphone given the state of those hands there. But what did you think of Hassan Minhaj's roast of Trump? Did you guys get to see that?
Yeah, I saw it. I thought it was great. I thought it was really funny. And then at the end, he got kind of serious, and he brought up the First Amendment and kind of talked about how important that dinner was in general, which is an important thing to mention, and because that's what that event is supposed to be about, and then Trump kind of insulted that aspect of the event by not showing up, right? Like that's the whole point, is that America is the only place in the world where you can, or sorry, not just America, but democracies where you have freedom of speech are the only places where you can insult a sitting president or the leader of the country. So, that's a big part of our democracy, and Trump just kind of turned away from that, and because he can't take an insult, basically.
And I'll bring up that a great kind of regret I feel we should have on the left is that Obama trashed Trump so badly in 2011. It was fantastic. It was hilarious. But at the same time, that was like the moment that in the origin story of the movie that's going to be created about Donald Trump. It there's a plot sequence element that involves Obama just like smacking him to his face at the White House Correspondents' Dinner.
Rahul, you can't blame Obama for this. Don't pull us out.
No, I'm not blaming him. I think it was phenomenal. It was unbelievable. But at the same time, we have to acknowledge in the autopsy that oh fuck, that's what created the monster.
I think that's a great point, and I think it's somewhat symbolic that Trump refused to go this year. Like he has such traumatic memories from the last White House, the last time he was at one of these dinners, that he refuses to ever go again. That's how much of a baby he is.
Yeah, exactly. But you know what? I like you have had a couple adverse reactions to Taco Bell. Okay, but I still go to Taco Bell. Okay, because the food is pretty great there. Taco Bell, not a sponsor yet of the pod, but hopefully they can call us. But guys, the thing
Hopefully
is
you're more courageous than Donald Trump.
Exactly, and more courageous.
That's the only conclusion you can draw from that analogy.
Exactly, and the real symbolism for me was the Woodward and Bernstein remarks at the Correspondents' Dinner. So if you step back and you say, what were the optics of this event? Obviously, Trump was not there. Tim, you hit the nail on the head with that point, right? What does that really mean? He's a fascist. He doesn't actually believe in the democratic values of free speech, so that's why he's not there. But on the other hand, you had a room full of reporters who Hassan Minhaj said, obviously, our enemy number one above ISIS and normal length ties for Trump, which is a great quote from that speech. And then all these reporters in Trump's head are just out there like sharks that smell blood in the water, going out there, going for the jugular, trying to impeach Trump. At the same time, then, these reporters stuck it to Trump by putting the guys who broke the Watergate story up on stage the night that Trump didn't show up, and that there's all this controversy around Russia. So for me, that was tremendous symbolism and real foreshadowing for what's to come from Trump. If he wants to snub the White House Correspondents' Dinner, that's great. But that was a powerful message that the journalists were making to Trump, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was a nice symbolic thing to bring up because, it just puts everybody on alert for those type of scandals. But I guess I think everybody's already like on alert with the Russia issue and everything. But it's good to see those legendary reporters up there.
Yeah, exactly. So, guys, I think it's that time of week again. Do you think it's that time of week?
Is it clown of the week time?
It might be. Are you feeling it? Are you feeling clownish? Are you feeling like clowning on some folks here? Well, so here we are, guys. Clown of the week. Last week, we all know it was Alex Jones, the InfoWars host, who lost his custody battle for surprise. I guess it must have been that bowl of chili, Tim, that pushed him over the edge there. But or maybe that George Soros paid a massive bribe in the form of way too potent marijuana to the judge. But anyway, Alex Jones, clown of the week last week. He now, again, has suffered from the curse of our podcast being labeled clown of the week and then having something horrible happen to you. Alex Jones lost his custody battle. This week, guys, I want to get kicked off. My nominee this week is Ivanka Trump. And you might be saying, Tarek, why is Ivanka the clown of the week? Well, actually, the real clownish moment for me happened over this week when Ivanka Trump was in Germany speaking at a conference about women and social entrepreneurship and things that she can do to empower women. And she received quite a number of boos from the audience in Germany. And if anything, that was obviously a moment where she herself became a clown, but at the same time, she didn't have anything to really substantively put forward to reverse that perception. And this goes back to this great piece that John Oliver had last week on his show about Ivanka Trump, and the entire media narrative being that she has a moderating influence on Donald Trump, when she actually doesn't really say much publicly, and there's absolutely no evidence to back that up. And Oliver had a quote from her book that was something like, perception is more powerful than reality. If somebody says something inaccurate about you, but it's to your benefit, don't go out of your way to correct it. And I think that's exactly what's happening with Ivanka Trump. Everyone assumes that she is more moderate, that she, let's say, disagrees with her father on some of the key issues like the Muslim ban or, female reproductive rights, etc., when there's actually no evidence to the contrary. So Ivanka Trump, my nominee for Clown of the Week.
Nice. That's a good one. So my Clown of the Week is directly related to Tarek's Clown of the Week, actually.
Oh, yeah.
So my Clown of the Week is Jesse Waters of Fox News.
Is this the guy who has Waters World? Is it the same? This
is the host of Waters World.
Waters World.
Previously, Bill O'Reilly's apprentice. He
number one bitch.
He had a sub segment on Bill O'Reilly's show. which was where Water's World came from. That was the original Water's World, and then he got his own show. But on the 5 this week, he was attempting to provide some color commentary for Ivanka Trump's talk in Germany, where she was booed and hissed, and he made a very unfortunate blowjob joke. I almost wouldn't call it a joke because it was so bad. But
What'd he say, Tim? What'd he say?
He basically said, so Ivanka Trump was talking into a microphone, and he said, I like the way she's talking into that microphone, and he made like a motion with his mouth, like a very, very slight blowjob motion.
What a douchebag! Like this, even more as if we needed more proof that he had to go and make a blowjob reference. Which it's like, what did he stand? What did he in the same week that Bill O'Reilly was fired?
To be fair, anytime a woman approaches a microphone, it's a blowjob, right?
That's exactly right, Rahul.
I think Fox News.
That's the important takeaway here, is that I didn't realize how many opportunities for blowjob jokes I was missing. Because anytime a woman talks into a microphone, that's a blowjob joke.
Yeah, exactly. Every time a woman speaks into an object, it's a blowjob.
And that's I think that's in the Fox News HR handbook, actually. So guys, that was probably a direct excerpt there that you read, Rahul and Tim. But
sorry, wait. So I didn't even finish what happened to him. So he's on a quote unquote vacation right now. Unplanned vacation. He said
that doesn't sound good.
On Wednesday he said, I'm not gonna be here on Friday or something. I'm going on vacation with my family. He promised he would be back on Monday, but let's hope this is the end of Water's World.
Why do all these guys go on unplanned vacations with their families? I mean, as if like that. Fox News has a bad rap for chauvinism and sexual harassment, and then it's like, oh, I don't care if you work, wife. We're going on a holiday here because I've been, put on 2 weeks of holiday leave. Like, you just pull the kids out of their like hard right conservative school.
It's an alt-right school district, right?
Yeah, where do they take them? Like
my big question is, how depressing must that vacation be? It's like, okay, kids and wife, we're gonna take a little vacation, and so Daddy can think about what he did at work last week.
Daddy, you're never around. Why are you around these 2 weeks? I made an off-color blowjob joke about the president's daughter, son. You'll learn one day not to do that. Yeah, this guy is the clown of the week. I agree with you, Tim.
All right, Rahul.
Well, all right. So my nomination for clown of the week is someone who's probably gonna come up in the future. His name is Sebastian Gorka. He's a PhD, like a great scholar of world affairs, and he's being weighed to be fired from the Trump White House. This guy's associated with Hungarian right-wing Nazi-affiliated organizations. Like you can't make this shit up. But he's tied to them. But he has a PhD associated to his name, so his name is Dr. Gorka, and
Dr. Douchebag.
And he insists he be called Doctor, right?
And then also, be honored for his bullshit title of PhD in fucking racism studies.
Racism studies, which is like the most, there's not enough funding for racism studies today in today's liberal arts environment.
But I do think honestly that he shouldn't be clown of the week because he'll be clown of the week in the future. Like, he hasn't been fired yet. This is just like my draft pick for clown of the week.
Whoa!
Maybe in 1 week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
So I think this should give you some sort of special option to pick Sebastian Gorka for subsequent weeks.
Are you short? Are you trying to short Gorka here, Tim?
I'm just
saying, like,
market.
if I does this mean I can't pick Sebastian Gorka next week?
I think
Because Rahul's already picked him. Like, does Rahul get to pick him every week going forward?
I get credit
I'm pro-choice here.
For Gorka, yeah.
All right, that's fine.
I'm pro-choice here. Pro-choice on your clown of the week
pro-choice
choice.
here.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm anti-choice.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, John Ossoff here.
Yeah.
There's no place for me on this podcast.
You're Tim. You're quickly enraging the far left. So, guys, let's talk about something really important here. Every week, we clown on Republicans. This is true. This is what you know and love about this podcast. But at the same time, we always try to keep it positive and talk about things that are good, things that are going on in the community, on the world scene, that make people feel optimistic and proud to be Democrats. This week, Rahul, do you have something that you want to put forward for your choice for what's good?
Yeah, I think like to be optimistic about the future. I think about the 100 days that Trump that his administration has done so far, and how unsuccessful they've been in everything, basically. Aside from, I mean, they did nominate Neil Gorsuch, but this is a do-nothing administration so far that has no idea what to do legislatively or from an executive angle. So every executive order has been a failure. So that's made me feel a lot better since the days of November, where it was feeling a lot more dire. I think since the election, since December, since January, it was a lot harder back then, and I'm feeling a lot more positive since then.
So what's good in your view is that Trump has not been able to do all the horrible draconian things that he campaigned on.
Yeah, he's a goddamn idiot.
He's a goddamn idiot, and that makes me feel good too. That he's tried and he's failed, or in many other cases, most of the time, not even tried. So I think that is, I agree with you, that's pretty inspiring. For me, my what's good this week is something that obviously everybody knows, that I live in Europe. I live in the European Union, and I've been in exile because the Trump administration think I'm far too liberal for the United States. And I learned this week that on May 25th, President Obama, big ups to Barry, is going to be in Europe. In Berlin on the exact same day that Trump.
Wait, are you going to that?
I am not going to that, but I will be there in spirit. I will be there in spirit, and that is just so positive for me because it's going to overshadow the lunatic fringe train wreck speech that Trump is likely to give on the same day in Brussels, which is the headquarters of the European Union, where Trump is bound to say some really stupid shit and criticize the European Union for being a freedom-hating organization, probably doling out bills left and right, like making invoices rain all over Merkel and the Italian Prime Minister and everybody else. So the fact that that's going to, A, piss off Trump, and B, provide some glimpse into what a real president looks like, speaks like, and how they behave. Having Obama in Europe at the same time, I think, is something that is very, very positive. And I think that it's probably one of his first public appearances since leaving office on the world stage, other than obviously the photo op of him windsurfing with Sir Richard Branson. So that's my what's good this week. Really excited to see Obama steal some of those headlines from Trump, and hopefully that will soften the blow to our European allies.
Nice, that's a good one. So for my what's good, I'm going to bring up a topic that we've discussed a few times outside of the podcast, and that is Mark Zuckerberg's 50-state tour.
Okay.
A little surprise for you guys. And specifically, Mark Zuckerberg had dinner with a family in Ohio this week. And it wasn't just any family. This was a family of Democrats who voted for Donald Trump and gained some media attention for doing so.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I guess Zuckerberg's got in touch with his family, and they were informed that he was coming over for dinner like 15 minutes before he arrived. And so it's just like, I just like can't imagine that happening. Like you're just like sitting down to dinner and you get a phone call saying, "Hey, Mark Zuckerberg's coming by."
I feel like that should be a Facebook, like they should have sent him a Facebook message or something.
Yeah, like this is the guy who's running like the foremost communication network in the world, and he can't set up a dinner like more than 15 minutes in advance.
He's a busy guy.
I would have been offended, frankly. I would have said, no, you're not coming over to dinner. You got to tell me beforehand. But anyways, obviously the idea is for Zuckerberg to get to understand why these people voted for Trump and just kind of understand their perspective. And the subtext to this is, of course, that Zuckerberg is doing something that looks very much like it's would prepare him for a run for president, which is like an interesting idea. Obviously, there's certain things about him that would make him a strong candidate. Certain things that might be issues for him, such as people will probably be concerned about the fact that he runs Facebook and that might have privacy concerns with regard to the president also running the social network that they spend all their time on. But anyways, I think it's a good thing that Zuckerberg's getting to know the people who voted for Trump and is trying to get involved in politics a little bit.
Yeah, I personally, I like the concept of the 50-state tour. I do think it's probably foreshadowing a career in politics, or at least a foray into politics. I just want to know sort of, Tam, I don't know if you know this, but what did they eat at dinner? Because if you only have 15 minutes to prepare for Mark Zuckerberg, I'm thinking I'm throwing some ramen on into the microwave. I'm getting some chocolate cake. Like, what do you know what they ate?
Hold on a second. I'm doing some
the real time
analysis, some forensic analysis.
Because
enhance. I'm seeing.
What do you see here?
Looks
you
like
see some chocolate cake?
Looks like maybe a salmon dish with some green beans, but it's on plastic plates with plastic forks and.
Like real Trump people, like that's real America, man. Real Americans eat on plastic plates, paper plates.
I'm having like culture shock right now. Are there people who eat dinner every night on plastic plates?
None of this silverware and real plates bullshit that you coastal elites have, okay? We're talking about lean cuisine. We're talking about corn dogs on a stick, okay? Like that's what real Trump Americans eat for dinner every night. It doesn't matter if Mark Zuckerberg, Mr. Fancy Pants, is coming. We're gonna get out the finer spork, the plastic spork.
Oh God, now you are sounding like a coastal elite.
Oh my gosh. Well, anyway, I do like this. I like the listening tour. I'm a bit nervous though that if we want to put our hopes on another billionaire CEO to run the country, I think Zuckerberg is at least like a brilliant guy, and at the same time is doing a good job running a massive company, unlike Trump. So just even on a head to head, like he's already winning bigly. But at the same time, I'm worried that particularly when parts of the left are very concerned about the income inequality, things like income inequality. I just don't think that he could win the Democratic primary, if you know what I mean. Like, that's not a commentary on who Mark Zuckerberg like is as a politician, but I don't see a scenario where he could win the Democratic primary for the simple fact that he's a billionaire.
Well, the other thing I would bring up is, so I brought up like the privacy issue, but then the other issue is like he could use Facebook to brainwash us all with like fake news, you know, like that could become like his propaganda arm, you know, and we'll just have no idea what reality is anymore.
I did notice an ad for Chili after we recorded last week's podcast, so he could be listening. I'm not exactly sure. Rahul, did you see anything in your newsfeed that led you to believe that Zuckerberg personally has he subscribed to the pod? All right, guys. Well, thanks again for another great week of Radio Free USA, another hard-hitting 50 to an hour long podcast that millions and millions are subscribing to on social media. You can click the subscribe button in the iTunes store on our podcast. You can go to SoundCloud. You can go to Democratic Memes. You can go to Radio Free USA on Facebook and like us. Thanks again for a great week. And let's make sure that by next week, no one has soft lumber.
Nice, dude.